All right, how is everyone doing? I am Rich CELENZA. Thanks for tuning into the Rich CELENZA Show. WTF are you talking about? So what I'm going to call today's podcast is, are your workouts destroying you? Hopefully you're in some type of fitness or you like working out. If you don't, I'd recommend definitely start working out regardless of what age you are. I don't care if you're 5 or if you're 95. I would definitely try to get as much blood flow as you can. If you listen to my podcast, most likely you have some interest in some type of fitness. That could be losing weight, gaining muscle, something in that nature, hopefully, because that's one of the things I talk about the most, I'd say, is fitness or trying to help people. So, what I want to get into today, I think is very important, and I don't think a lot of people address it or even acknowledge it. And actually, my girlfriend's going to go through it right now. And that is a lot of times when you're working out for long periods of time, or you keep doing the same type of workouts, you start to feel fatigue or things start to happen and you don't understand why. And you could think it's old age, you may think it's stress, you may think it's what you're doing at work, you may think all these type of things, but a lot of times what you're doing in the gym or what you're obviously doing physically could be damaging you and not helping you. Actually hurting you. Now, I'm not talking about guys that do physical labor. I come from a family of a lot of painters that are also involved in construction in one shape or another. Even my stepfather was in construction, and that physically does take a toll on you. And, that's a whole nother thing. What I'm talking about is the average person out there who goes to work. They may or may not do physical labor, but they work out in the gym. And at the beginning, they get really good results. They may lose the weight they wanted to lose. They may start gaining muscle that they wanted to gain. Just getting in better shape, looking better, feeling better, which is great. But as time goes on, I realized over my lifespan, and I started working out basically in gyms at 5 years old at a YMCA locally, then started to hit it hardcore basically at about 12, and now I'm 50, one is people don't know how to switch up their workouts, for one, which I'm always trying to preach. Change your workouts up constantly. Even if you like free weights, do different workouts, do different equipment, even work out at different times, see what works best for you. Just really experiment. Don't just get caught up working out in the mornings. It may not be for you. Maybe the afternoons are, or maybe working out at night. Whatever the case may be, constantly be testing things like you'd be testing anything else in your life to see what works best. And people are kind of too lazy. But in this case, I see a lot of people who work out, including my friends, who now are complaining about a lot of different things, which could be their back, their hamstrings, their knees, their joints, their tendons, the list goes on and on and on, their neck, shoulders. I get it. And I'm going to tell you one thing that you have to learn, and I don't care again what age you are. You have to learn how to work out. If you do work out for the long term, you have to look at the long game. So if I'll put this in the perspective of, do you want to be a type of football guy where your career only lasts so long, or do you kind of want to be the golfer that could basically golf for the rest of his life, or at least go out there and do some type of golfing? Because, and I know they're two extremely different sports, but my point being is, when you work out, you do not want to damage your body. And I'll tell you one thing, I damaged my body. I had an obsession. You probably may or may not have heard it on my previous podcast. I call it reverse anorexiism, where I just wanted to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And no matter how big I got, I just felt skinny and small. And at the same time, I was eating a lot of food, but I was also not doing enough cardio. But I got up to about between 240 and 250 weight-wise for long periods of time. And I took a major toll, I think, on every aspect of my body. Obviously, including my knees, tendons, joints, and my heart, I believe. I started to have a lot of complications, even breathing, profusively sweating. My arm even went numb, stretching my skin, a lot of things. And I was kind of fortunate that I knew how to master certain things about how to gain weight and lose weight slowly. So I dodged a lot of bullets. I lost that weight around 40 years old. Thank God I had to do it. I don't think I'd be alive, honestly, if I was that heavier. I definitely would not. I'd be in bad shape. I just know I was, because I was getting in bad shape. So I took something healthy and made it unhealthy. And what I'm talking about today is something very similar. But it sometimes just happens, and you don't know how it happened. But so I'll just take my girlfriend, for instance, who's starting to have back and hip issues and something like that. Certain things, maybe not even hip, leg. And for years, she didn't work out. And she only did dance, let's say. And I think she ran. Incredible shape even when I met her. Really, I mean, not the most physical specimen. She hated gyms, but she was in really good shape. Looked great, too. She can jump extremely high. Very flexible. What's crazy is she's 50 years old now. And when I first met her, she didn't like going to the gym. She'd visit me. I lived in San Diego, actually, at the time, and I traveled a lot, so sometimes she'd meet up with me when we first started dating. And she hated the gym. I don't know what her issue was with it, but she'd go, she'd be miserable standing there. She didn't like working out with me, or just didn't like working out independently when we went to the gym. But I had a discussion with her and said, if you plan on seeing me or being with me, especially in the future, I'm going to be spending a lot of time at the gym. That doesn't mean you have to come with me, because I could care less. I was never caught up in dating women that had to be incredibly fit or that had to work out and all this type of shit. Just wasn't my thing. I was more interested in myself working out. I can't control what anybody else does. So, sorry about that. I just had to clear my throat sometimes. But she, slowly but surely, started to really enjoy the gym, which was kind of shocking. And before you know it, she loves all the equipment. She's doing it. She's in there as much as I am. Fast forward some years, she joins a gym with me, and she's full throttle in it. She's at the gym as much as I am. Loves it. But now she's starting to have some complications, and I've been discussing this with her. And, well, first, they want to do the chiropractor. I've never done that, but if that works for you, God bless. Next, we have a massage, right? So a lot of people, including myself, go for massages. And you could do the sauna, which I think works incredibly. You could jump in and out of jacuzzis, maybe even do steam rooms. And you're trying all these different type of remedies, I guess you could say. Different stretches and different things. And nothing seems to be working. So say, for instance, with her back, her leg, whatever the case may be. And I had to tell her, listen, your workout is what may be destroying you. And I think what happened with her, she loves using a lot of different equipment. I'm not sure if it's one piece. I'm not sure if it's multiple pieces. I'm not sure if because it seems like she's stretching properly. I would say, are you stretching correctly even before or after? And I keep telling her it could be even you running on a treadmill, hypothetically, for certain periods of time. It could be even you riding a bicycle. It could be something very minute or small that's hurting you. Now, it can also be you sitting in a car for long periods of time because she travels a lot, or in an airplane. All these things you have to start paying attention to. But your workout, a lot of times as you get older, you have to evolve. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to necessarily change everything up. But I'm going to tell you something. As most people know, and I'm fighting that as well, you're losing your strength as you get older. Now, you don't have to give into that, but it's happening. I'm fighting that as well. But at the same time, I have a lot of friends that are fighting it to a much higher level, trying to, keep up with their youth or keep working out with the same heavy weights that they did, say, 10, 20, 30 years ago. And actually, I think they're starting to have a lot of complications because instead of helping their body stay fit, they're damaging it. And again, they may be a little fatigued or they may be sore now, or a different type of sore, like hurting. If they're 50, I keep telling them, you got to remember, what are you going to feel like when you're 70? What are you going to feel like even when you're 60? There's a difference between being sore and hurting yourself. And not a lot of people realize that. I think even when they're working out sometimes, because I've even hurt myself working out, because I get confused. But as you get older, you're smarter. No set, no rep is worth you ever damaging your body. I'm going to tell you, you only get one body. You better take care of it. You're not getting another one. At least not in this lifetime that I know. Maybe in the future they'll be able to put your head on somebody else's body. But as of right now, every time you damage your body, it's like a car accident, I think, sometimes. It's a little ding here, a little ding here. You don't, like oil changes, you don't get in there, work out, or take care of yourself. And again, that doesn't mean you have to be obsessed. You don't get the proper nutrition. Again, that doesn't have to mean you're on these extreme diets or constantly eating right. You just have to to learn how to maintain your body correctly and take care of it. And a lot of people don't do that. But if you are working out and you always felt good, and now all of a sudden you're not feeling good, I would recommend one, going to the doctor first, just to make sure, because a lot of men, I think statistically from the age of like 30 to 70, unless something drastically goes wrong, they go very small amounts of time. Like some only go a few times, say in 20, 30 years. And a lot of times when they do go, it's too late, or they already have a lot of complications that they ignored. So if you do feel shitty, you definitely want to go check out your doctor. But besides that, sometimes it's the small things I talk about that are hurting you the most. It's a little tweak here and there. I learned that with this recently even. I kept saying, why is my neck hurting? And I kept saying, oh, I've been flying again. Oh, it's driving. But then I took some time off of that. I wasn't flying as much. I wasn't driving for a month, and it was still aggravating me. And then I pinpointed it. It's this one piece of equipment on abs with machines that you pull down. I also saw a video on it saying this is horrible for you. Let me get some water here. So, stop doing that, and guess what? My neck feels way better. Now, again, I don't know if that's mental, but I can tell even when I was doing the exercise, I'm like, it's hitting my abs, but I'm getting a lot of stress. But then afterwards, it was really hurting me, and I'm like, is this payoff worth it? That's the other thing I want to talk about. No exercise is worth like the payoff of injuring yourself. So if you're bench pressing, and a lot of guys I know grew up bench pressing their whole life, right? But as they get older, their shoulders, including mine, are starting to just get destroyed. But they keep doing it. You have to evolve. I know you may have an ego of lifting a certain amount of weight doing flat. That could be dumbbells, straight bar. You may have to go to incline. If incline hurts, you may have to learn different exercises, maybe cable crossovers. You may have to transition into certain types of equipment. You may have loved doing push-ups, but again, your shoulders are trashed, or maybe putting a lot of pressure on your lower back. You're in love with them, you get certain results, you've been doing them your whole life. But pay attention again, because again, what used to help you may be hurting you. And, if you look at, like even, I read these things or watch videos or listen to different podcasts as well on different things physically, and they talk about even Navy SEALs, for instance. Like when you're 25 years old, just 25, your body actually, I think, starts to break down to a certain degree, because it just does. And it's amazing, like somebody who's 18 to 23, 24, they claim just their bone density and just them as a physical specimen is much different, especially their recovery. If you ever have a chance, you might want to read the Tom Brady book. What's it, TB12, I think? I hope I didn't screw that up. But he has a book out. I read it. I saw it again in Barnes & Nobles. It's an incredible book. It's all about pliability and how he basically trains his body to handle impacts in football, but also a lot on nutrition, how he takes care of himself. He is an extremist, it seems like. I'm not saying anyone has to go to that level. Maybe if you're a professional athlete, if you'd like to, it seemed to work for him. But if you're just the average Joe out there, I like grabbing bits and pieces on a lot of things I learned from that book. I'm not going to talk about that book entirely, but it's a really interesting book. And if you know anything about him, what's he, 42 years old? He's still playing at the highest level, and he's probably the best quarterback ever. And he's probably, I think he's still rated number 1 or 2 in the league. So, which is an amazing feat, considering I think he was one of the lowest draft choices ever to succeed at the level he did. He was also one of the slowest. I don't think even his arm strength, I think his arm strength now is almost the same, or maybe even better than when he was younger, which is crazy. Because Father Time usually doesn't wait for anybody, but he has definitely learned how to take care of his body and get the most out of it. And if you go to a gym, that's what I want people to do as well. Get the most out of your workout, but a healthy workout. I did a podcast on this. Try it also when you go to workout. One is injury-free. That's what we're there to do. More than anything, it's about not getting an injury when working out. I don't care who you are, what age. When you're working out, you want the most out of it and walk out of there healthier, not damaged. One thing you can do wrong in a gym can damage you for the rest of your life. I don't care if it goes from squatting, you could pull your back out, blow out a knee, pec, rip your bicep, all these type of things. And that could go for sports as well. I played sports my whole life. I've seen my buddy snap his arm when we're wrestling. It never seemed like he recovered to a certain degree from that. I've seen tons of injuries. I'm not going to get into it. Between guys blowing their knee out and all these things, you never think it's going to happen to you. And in a split second, everything changes. And that can happen in a gym as well. That can also, if you take jiu-jitsu, you could take karate, you could box, MMA, whatever the case may be. There's again, you have to bring a mental toughness there. And I'm not telling you by any means to give up on anything. That's the last thing I'm telling you to do. But you have to do things right, and you have to pay attention to your body. It is sending you signals, okay? Again, I'm not talking about a Navy SEAL who goes into hell, whatever, month, week, year, half year. Those dudes are programming their brains to be on something at a much higher level, okay? And before they even went there, they were already programming themselves. And usually they're a different physical specimen. 1 in the millions, right? So one of the things also I want to talk about on this podcast is, and I had a podcast separately on this, but a lot of times I think when you go in the gym, your mindset is to get out as quickly as possible. And when you're working out, you're not really paying attention. You're paying attention to more or less what's on your phone, the women walking around you, or the dudes, whatever. If you're a woman, looking at guys. I don't care if you're straight or gay, especially with the outfits they're wearing. You're thinking about work. You're talking on the phone. You're just kind of going through the motions. Not only do I not think you're going to get good, results out of that. And again, I'm not telling you not to listen to things, listen to podcasts or listen to music. I get that, but I think you know what I mean by the difference when going into a gym and being mentally, really into what you're doing and expecting certain results, putting your mind in the muscle. You have to pay attention to all these type of things. And it may sound like a lot of work at the beginning to do all these type of things mentally, but it really isn't. Once you start learning how to work out properly, it's much funner and it just flows. And I think a lot of times, especially as we get older, we trying to keep up with the past and we do these workouts that are daunting. They're not fun anymore. And I once heard actually Jane Fonda, I'm not the hugest fan of her, I don't know much about her, even growing up, but she once said what happens with a lot of people with working out is as they get older, they quit because they can't keep up with their past. They get frustrated. But they have to realize as you get older, you need to work out more, but the type of workout you need to do is differently. Because when you're younger, you could even have shorter workouts and get great results because you're much more durable. And you're going to get quicker results as you're growing, especially. But as you're getting older, it's hard to get those same results. It may take a longer amount of time. So those are just something or things to think about when working out. It's not always about the weight. It's not always about the better time, right? Doing something faster maybe if you're running and you want to do a mile at a certain time. It's not maybe at a certain age about being the biggest, having the most muscle mass. All these type of things you're going to have to realize as you get older, you're going to have to evolve. And again, that doesn't mean giving up on your dreams or giving up and looking a certain way. But if you are having complications physically, it is time to evolve and change your workouts up is really what I'm trying to say. And that can go for any age. Let me grab another water here. I'm going to give you my past real quick on what I went through. When I was younger, I had all these complications. It started when I was very young with my throat and my ears and even my teeth. But my ears were always ringing and my throat always hurt. And then my throat eventually, when I was, I think, 7, started to officially, it turned black and was closing in. I couldn't breathe. They did an emergency tonsil removal. And this is back in like the mid-70s. This wasn't that common. I don't even think removing tonsils is still that common. But that was a game changer for me for starters. That was wonderful. And then I started to have a lot of complications with my teeth. I don't know why. I ended up having a few root canals like when I was in junior high. And they were like, wow, this is even grade school. And they said that you're the youngest to ever have a root canal. I'm like, oh my God, I'm not going to have any teeth. But I just started to have problems with my teeth. And then I ended up getting a hernia. I had to have a hernia surgery. Kind of felt shitty. I don't think I was eating enough food because I was so active. I loved playing sports. I don't think I was getting enough nutrition. And this is back in the day when people didn't even, in the 70s, you're eating cereal, or my mom made Italian food mainly. But it wasn't about getting a ton of fruits, vegetables. I mean, it may have been healthier food back in the 70s, not as processed. But I don't think I was getting enough food, enough nutrition, drinking enough water compared to how active I was. And then when I went into basically junior high and high school, I was full throttle, playing 3 sports a year and then throwing in weightlifting constantly. I mean, it was funny. My mother was just showing pictures to my oldest daughter, and everything is me lifting weights or me at a sporting event. I really wasn't that interested in school as far as education, but I definitely loved sports. The problem was I was always too small. But even when I played Pop Warner football, I was middle linebacker. I played running back. I was just always beating the shit out of my body. Then we played football, just regular tackle football. And what happened was as I got older, like especially through high school, when I was wrestling, I started to lose weight and lift weights. But I started to just feel like shit. And the more sports I was playing, the worse I was feeling. One is I didn't know how to warm up properly. One is I wasn't stretching. The other, like I was saying earlier, I just wasn't getting enough nutrition, I think. The other thing was a lot of it was outside in the cold Chicago. I was freezing, and I was just beating my body up constantly, physically. And I just felt like shit. My knee started to hurt. My lower back, I would pull it out off and on. I once sneezed. I couldn't move the whole weekend. It was crazy. And at that time, I was playing a lot of tennis and basketball. So depending on the season of the year, I'd be playing certain sports. I'd even go play floor hockey, and then I would jump in to play baseball and then softball. I just couldn't stop. And I don't think my body was recovering. And what was quite interesting is I remember even when they were talking about when I was graduating high school, like going to wrestle again at colleges, and there's certain weight, I'd have to wrestle at 138. And I'm like, go fuck yourselves. I plan on being 250 pounds. I'm not going to be some guy who's 5'6", 138 pounds, because that's what I weighed and that's how tall I was. So after I left high school, I moved to Florida, and I just started eating. I don't know, it kicked in. I was eating out more. I wasn't eating at home with my mother as much, but I was collecting money with my father, but I was eating out at many different restaurants. And then I just basically concentrated on the gym, no sports. And I literally went from, like in a year and a half, 140 pounds to 210 pounds. I probably tripled in strength, and I felt amazing. And one was, I think, also I wasn't getting enough rest. I've talked about this on previous podcasts. When I was in high school, you're going to bed, I was 11, 12, mainly 12 or 1, and then you're getting up at 7. I wasn't getting the proper amount of rest, and I don't think that's why I didn't grow either. But then I grew 4 inches, and when I was 19 years old, going on 20, which is kind of ironic. And like I said, I gained all that weight. When I came back to events in high school and stuff, I almost was twice the size. People didn't even recognize me, and then everybody just said I was on steroids. But the reason I'm saying this too is some of the sports too, or activities that you may be doing, I think were kind of breaking me down. They weren't helping me. I was excessive, I get it, but you may have been playing a sport for many, many years. It could be baseball, it could be volleyball, it could be hiking, it could be running. Whatever it is, and you don't feel good, you have to realize it can be these exercises that you're doing. Now, I'm excluding a gym, so I'm not even bringing the gym into play here. These could be things you do outside. It could even be yoga. I was doing yoga. I was getting really good at it, and I think I'm going to maybe go back to it, but I didn't feel that good doing it. And I think I was pushing myself more and more and more, and a lot of people are like, oh, you feel great on yoga and breathing and this and that. I didn't feel that good. I felt okay. I felt a lot better in the gym, and then I felt a lot better when I went into a sauna after a gym as far as breathing goes. And I loved swimming. So I kind of was replacing a little bit of, I was doing more yoga kind of than swimming. I didn't have the time to do them all, like weights, swimming. I could have, but I wasn't. And I realized I felt a lot better when I swam. It helped with my appetite. It also burned a lot of calories. It also helps me sleep. And these are things that, as time goes on, I'm trying all these different things. I've never done Pilates. I've hiked, obviously. And I've played tennis throughout my life, basketball, baseball, softball, all these different things. If you're younger, I'm going to tell you right now, try different things, because you may have tried one sport or two. You weren't good at it maybe, or maybe you were good at it, you got hurt at it. There's other things you can do. Okay, I'm just telling you, even if, say, you damaged your knees or something is wrong, you can also go into a gym, do mainly upper body. You don't have to run. You can walk, ride a bike. You can go swim. There's all these different types of exercises that you can do. You just have to be open-minded to do that and pay attention to that. So hopefully you learned something regarding this. It's basically about experimenting. I talk about your body's just an experimental, tool to a certain degree. And it's your brain's tool, or it's your brain's, I always say basically your brain's controlling everything. Your body's just listening to you. It's just it's just a part of who you are. But you've really got to understand that, again, when it comes to your body, it is changing. It is evolving constantly every day. One, it's getting older, but it's not even about age. It's just changing, especially in your environment. And you may change a job, you don't realize the impact that has on your body, regardless if it's physical labor or just in an office area. Your sleeping patterns may be changing, your food may be changing. Now, if you're one of those people that never changes, right? Say you stick to the same routine forever, that's cool too. But your body is still aging. So it's going to, at different times, need different things, if that makes sense. So also eating and all those type of things, what you may have been able to eat in your past, you may not be able to eat in the future. You may not want to either. Your eating habits and all those things can obviously contribute to you feeling good or bad. So those are things you got to think about as well, especially as you get older. So the quicker you discover who you are and what works for you, the better off you're going to be. But also remember, that is not forever. That may work for a week. That may work for a month. That may work for a year. Right? And I've gone through that, especially me loving Italian food. Mainly all I still want to eat is Italian food. But I've known over the years, like, my pasta portion has to come down. My cheese, whatever certain cheeses or Parmesans or whatever I'm eating, even beef sandwiches from Chicago or sausage or all these things, I have to keep backing up because it makes me feel like shit. So definitely pay attention to your diet or what you're eating. I promise you that's going to have a huge impact on how you feel. Your body needs nutrition, man. It runs. And that, again, doesn't mean you have to become obsessed, but just pay attention to that. All right, I'm going to wrap it up there. What do I got? I got a YouTube channel. I've been putting a lot of different things regarding fitness. Just put up 2 gyms I visited in San Antonio by the Alamo. They were both Gold's gyms, which I've done videos in Gold's, but never took a tour on those gyms, even though I grew up going to Gold's and World's gyms. They were 2 of my favorite, especially back in the 80s and 90s. And when I moved to Florida, I used to work out in them. So it was nice to go back to those and do some videos on them. I got a Mastering Self-Confidence program out there. If you want to check that out, all you got to do is go to richcelenza.com. I'm on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And leave a comment. I just want to help people in any way I can. But take care. And if you're traveling, safe travels.